Hey doll fam, welcome back to a new episode of Monday Coffee with the Doll. I said that I kind of wanted to start doing Monday Coffee at the beginning of the month to kind of have like a sit down and just a Monday Coffee meetup where we just let it all out, where we just spill all the coffee beans per se. Speaking of beans, I have some very important beans to share with you guys today, and I am really excited about them. So recently I had a Monday Coffee with the Doll viewer reach out to me who just so happens to also love coffee as much as I do. And she also just so happens to have an absolutely amazing coffee company with her adorable puppy dog. She has been sending me the most adorable puppy spam of her cute little pupperino having some puppuccino, and it's really been healing. So I really appreciate the connection that I've had with this brand so far. She reached out and said that she had watched my show. Hello, Jessica. How are you? Is this weird? Is it weird that I'm like addressing you after you've contacted me? I'm just awkward. So, but we knew that. We've all been here for a while. So, anyways, she sent me some amazing coffee beans from her company, Sleeping Dog Coffee Beans. I absolutely love the little logo, and so do my kids. They've all claimed that when the bags are empty, they're going to be cutting the stickers off so they can keep them. My kids are weird like me. We like to embrace it. But she sent me some amazing beans that she roasts, and they are absolutely all natural coffee, all organic. There's no additives, there's no icky, sticky bleaches or chemicals or anything added to her beans. So if you're looking for an amazing substitute for a coffee that you're already drinking and maybe you want something better, Sleeping Dog Coffee Beans is the way to go. So she sent me a lot of different beans. She sent me her light roast, her medium roast, her dark roast, and then she sent me a big bag of her favorite roast. And so what I did was I just ground up her favorite bag because I trust her judgment in the bean department. And I have to say, that was the most amazing coffee, Jessica. It was delicious. And the way I kind of rate coffee is that if the coffee has really, really good flavor, I use less creamer. And I find that with a lot of the coffees that I've been buying in the store, I just dump so much creamer in, and that's not good either. I'm having more creamer than coffee. But with your coffee, I hardly used any creamer. The flavor was delicious. My kids even wanted to try some with one of their creamers because they think that they're fancy with their coffee in the morning. And everybody is just raving about your beans. We love your beans. Your beans are delicious. So check out the Sleeping Dog Coffee Beans Company. Check it out. Look how cute. Absolutely adorable. You guys can find all of the links below. I absolutely adore this coffee so far. That's what I have in my cup right now. And I drank an entire pot by myself yesterday, and my husband wasn't happy because he claims that I made that coffee for him to begin with. No, I didn't. They are an amazing small business roasting joy and happiness and kind of just wanting to share their message with the world like I am. So I was really happy to hear from her. Thank you, Jessica, for reaching out, and thank you for watching my show. But again, thank you for reaching out because I truly do appreciate the connection, and I'm in this really open and raw place with my communication these days, and I just like to say what I'm thinking, and I just want to say thank you for contacting me, thank you for watching my show, thank you for caring and wanting to be involved and having your brand mixed with the Doll Fam brand so we can just spread caffeinated, organic, no poisoning beans to the whole world. Peace and love and Sleeping Dog Coffee Beans. So this year, I have really been focusing on my journey in making peace within myself so I can walk in love with others better. And walking in love is a really hard thing because sometimes you have to ignore stuff that a lot of people would feel that you shouldn't ignore, and you really don't have to ignore. It's a personal choice. And I am always seeking to find that balance in communication. I am naturally not an aggressive person. Like, I don't want to argue with people. I don't want to ever have to deal with people behind their aggression. Like, I want to be able to have open, raw conversation without it just being walls of defense first. And it's hard to have a conversation with that. But I am, like I said, I'm in kind of this strange place with how I communicate, where I just want to be open and honest and real. And I don't want to sugarcoat anything. And that can always get you in trouble. It's always gotten me in trouble since I began this journey of a stripped soul. I don't know what voice that was. But I've kind of just been openly talking about how over the past 6 years of my life, ever since I left Oklahoma and I moved to Texas, and I kind of was cast out of my family, that I felt very disconnected with myself, who I was, while I was transitioning out of my marriage, and really changing in so many ways, because who I was as a person was not really a person at all. I was just kind of like this illusion of what a person should be as a good supporter of other people, I guess. That sounds weird, but ultimately I've really been struggling with feeling detached from, who I was and who I am now. And I think that it's really important when you're walking out your journey in, learning about who you are and trying to figure that out, that you don't feel that void, that fear of, I don't know who I am and I'm panicking, so I'm just going to collect all of these things that maybe I can hide behind and like identify behind to give me some type of look that I know what I'm doing, right? And other people believe that I know what I'm doing, but really you're just kind of hiding behind this false identity that you're building because you're so lost to begin with. You don't know who you are to begin with, and that's really scary. So if you're lost and you don't know how you got here, hi, I'm Emily Doll. I too am stuck in this. Yeah. I think that a lot of people can get stuck in this fake identity that they've created for themselves out of just too high of walls and too many boundaries and just too much aggression towards possibly being accountable for some of the things that are going on in their own lives. And that can be really scary. So when people don't want to face things and people don't want to accept that they too have a role in who they are, and they can't just blame other people for some of the negatives maybe that they've collected along their way, they start creating this facade of an identity that is such a delusion of who they were meant to be that they can't even connect with it. And if they can't connect it, other people can't connect with it. And then all of your relationships are just chaotic and a mess because the people who you're claiming you want to support you can't support you because they don't know you, because you don't know you. So getting lost in that false sense of identity rather than facing some of the scary, hard truths about the reality of your existence and your existence in other people's lives and other people's lives and their existence in your life. And that's a lot of pain, and that's a lot of like just rawness. And I can't really blame a lot of people for not wanting to deal with it, but you're never going to find yourself if you don't deal with it. You got to deal with it. You got to face it. You got to face it all. I think communication is a really hard thing to have these days. And I think that, again, I'm in a really weird place with communication because I feel like I have awakened in this completely new perspective of how to view life and how to view my trauma and how to view my journey and my story and who I am and how I feel and how I think. I'm still trying to sort it all out. And I think that's why grace is so important to have with yourself, because sorting it all out takes time. And we tend to get frustrated with ourselves, and we kind of get wrapped up in all of the things that we see other people doing or other people telling us we need to do, or this worked for me or that worked for them, or this YouTuber says this, or this influencer says that, or this celebrity is pitching this, or I think that we get really wrapped up And it can even just be simple. It can be like, well, you know, you have a really controlling spouse, or you have, you know, a parent who's really toxic, or, you know, we get wrapped up in all of the things that other people are throwing at us, that it can kind of be really hard to navigate through our feelings and emotions, to have open communication to begin with. And I think that honest communication is really hard for people to have, because to communicate honestly means that you have to not only be real with others, but you have to be real with yourself. And if you're not willing to communicate honestly, and honestly, not just with whatever the situation is that is being communicated through, but within yourself, then there cannot be a conversation. Without truth, without honesty, without accepting um, the possibility that maybe you don't see it quite as accurately as you thought, like being able to vibe and flow through a conversation with another person, and with the emotions and the feelings and the opinions, it's not something I feel like a lot of people can do, because immediately it can be met with such aggression that the conversations just shut off. And if you can't talk to people, if you can't have communication, you're never going to find a solution, and you're never going to find an endpoint. The problem is that a lot of people don't want a solution, and they don't want an endpoint, because they are happy treading water where they are. Some people are happy being lost. You can't save everyone. You're not a life raft, right? You're not just this unending life raft that can save everybody. You have to sometimes remember that you need time to breathe too, because if you can't breathe, how are you going to help anybody else breathe? It's just like when you're on a plane and they're like, hey, if shit gets real, you need to make sure you put on your own mask before you try to put on Johnny's over here, because if you pass out, you're not going to be helpful to anybody. And that's life. That's life. So sometimes it's important for you to be selfish and to work on yourself, and make sure that when you try to communicate with people in your lives, and you try to work through situations that you're going through in your lives, you're going into it in control and responsive to the situation, rather than reactive to the situation. And that can be hard. And it's not something that just happens overnight. But I think that it is something that once you can get control of, it's a lot easier to have a back and forth, because a back and forth is possible. Dialogue is possible. And it's really hard to work things out with people in your life that you may not have the best relationship with, when others won't close their mouths and open their ears long enough for you to hear what you're even trying to say. Like, what is my pain? What is my issue? What is my problem? Like, you can't fix something if you don't know what's going on. So sometimes you have to be willing to be quiet, as well as standing up for yourself in those moments. Like, it's a balance, and you have to learn that balance. And I think that once you're able to control that part of yourself and make peace with that part of yourself that's reactive emotionally, that reaction emotionally is like that defense. You don't need to defend yourself. You know your truth, you know your facts. You need to make peace with those facts. You need to make peace with that truth, and you need to hold it. And that's it. There is no more reaction. This is it now. That is your boundary. This is it. It's not changing. So when a conversation is had, you're able to bring your thoughts, your opinions, your everything to the table, and lay it out in this like neat little timeline. And meanwhile, the person who maybe not be being honest, or the person who hasn't reached that point in their life, or whatever that person is going through, when they show up and they see that, it's very easy to know if you're going to be able to work through that with that person, or if that person is just going to put up that roadblock and let you know that they don't want a solution. They want chaos. you don't have to live in chaos just because other people choose to. So that's what I'm going to be, really focusing on this month. Is I'm going to continue to try to be responsive in the situations in my life, and keep control of my emotions, because once your emotions can't be triggered by other people's emotions, it's a lot easier to rationally deal with situations and not allow things to like completely break you down mentally. When you're somebody who deals with things like anxiety and depression and PTSD, and when you can get control of your emotions and not allow anybody else's emotions to manipulate or trigger yours, it's really easy to keep boundaries up. It's really easy to work through situations in a more rational, open-minded sense rather than just a reactive, emotional sense. Because when, we go through something emotional and we react, it usually isn't the best. And here's an example. I have an example. So I remember, I think social media is a really crazy thing for me. And I'll say this is my final thought. I think that social media, and the reason why I do this, I guess it's not social media blogging, I guess you could call it vlogging because it's the video. The reason I keep coming back, and the reason I use this as my medium to create art, is because it was the first place that I was able to show myself. I was able to show myself. I was able to say, this is who I am. This is my voice. This is what I have to say. This is my identity. This is me, and nobody else can manipulate or control that. And that was very empowering for me. It was empowering to have a space and be able to connect with people outside of that very controlled space that I was, growing in at the time in my life. And I was able to kind of start seeing other things, and nobody could stop that, right? And so then as I grew and I was using social media as this platform to elevate my voice, it was really empowering to be able to say, hey, nobody gets to say who I am. Nobody gets to dictate my life. Nobody gets to, say what I'm going to do, or what I'm going to like, or how I'm going to dress, or whatever. And I use social media really to just elevate myself and all of the things that I felt that I identified with, that defined me, because I didn't know who I was. I was so lost at the time. I was just such a naive, unexperienced, I was in such a tiny fishbowl, right? And I've talked about that. Like, you have to replant yourself. You have to repot yourself. You can't get root bound. You can't stay in that same pot thinking that you're just going to be able to grow to your greatest potential, when really you're just getting all root bound in the bottom because your environment doesn't feed into your growth to begin with. So I was in this very tiny fishbowl, and I started using social media as a way to kind of collect all these things that defined me, in a sense. But it wasn't until I realized that I define myself, and it's not like other people or like an image that I project, or it wasn't like, a lot of us feel so defined by like our image or the photos we take, or like this perception that we're this perfect whatever I guess we're all supposed to be on social media. I don't know what the ideal thing is, but you get my drift. We get very wrapped up in that, and that's not us. That's not who we are. That's not what defines our souls. So once I started realizing that there was so much more out there that I could reach and that could define my soul in such a bigger way, I wanted to keep going. And sometimes we kind of like lose our footing and we get lost. And I've posted such dumb crap on social media before that was 100% reactive based off of an emotion. And it was when I was going through my divorce, and it was my first relationship I was ever leaving. It was my marriage, my first boyfriend, my first everything, so my first real breakup. And I was so inexperienced, and I really didn't have any knowledge or like view of real life anything. So I think that a lot of what I did was just emotional because I had no other way to express it. And then when I started realizing that there are so many better ways to express yourself that are not emotional, I realized that I expressed myself emotional because that's what I was shown. my mother is a very emotionally reactive person, and when you grow up in a household where it's that heightened emotion, and it's not, you know, mental illness, it's the damnedest thing. I'm gonna stop there. I feel like I'm getting off course. I didn't mean to talk about that. I think that, when you lash out emotionally in a situation, it usually has a negative effect somehow. Like, the bounce back is going to affect you negatively. So it's really important to get control of that. It's really important to make peace with yourself so you can be in control of your emotions, and nobody else can control those. That way you have a clear mind, you have a clear understanding, and you have control over the situations that you're going through. You can focus on your boundaries, you can focus on your goals, you can focus on saying, no, I removed this toxic from my life and I'm not going back. Ding! Oh yeah. Sleeping Dough coffee beans. It really is the bomb coffee. But I think that's probably enough mind chatter for a Monday coffee. So I think that I'm just gonna go into this month continuing my journey in just being really open with communication and my responding. I think that we have the right to respond the way we feel, and I think that people tend to rely on the emotional reaction to disarm people who are responding, because I think that people who are emotionally reactive versus people who are emotionally responsive, they don't necessarily get along. That was inappropriate. they don't necessarily get along, but you have to learn how to coexist with those types of people, and you have to learn that it's okay to stand your ground as the responsive person, because the reactive person is going to try and tower over you, and they're going to try to scream and be loud and lie and use like all the bells and whistles to make chaos. So the conversation is just completely out of the question. It's dead. You cannot have a conversation in dishonesty and chaos and anger. You have to be able to sit down and really have a conversation. And reactive people make that very difficult, because emotionally reactive people are emotional and they're scared. And I think that I'm also trying to learn to have more patience in those areas. I'm trying to have more patience when I look at people and how they behave, to take time to look at how they behave, and understand that there's a lot of mental illness in this world that's unaddressed. A lot. And I think that we see it every day, and I think that sometimes it just takes more patience, and you can kind of diffuse situations and they can turn out better than they started. And I did that recently on my page. There was a comment left by somebody on my Facebook page, and he had said something that was just crazy, like, where the F are the flying ninja kicks, something, false advertisement, right? It was just this chaos. And when I saw that comment, it was just hilarious to me, because it was just crazy. And I said, can you elaborate? Because I kind of want to know what you're talking about, even though it kind of sounds like you're mad at me. What are you saying? And then I forgot about it. When I came back the next day, or like 3 days later, there was a whole bunch of comments from people who follow my page just talking shit to this guy and tearing him up one side and down the next. And what's funny is when I read his comment, I immediately thought of my Thanksgiving video where I did like a flying ninja kick, where I was doing the Mission Impossible dance. You can find it on my TikTok. I'm not sharing it with you. And then when I looked, he responded, and that's what he said. He said, "I'm so sorry. I think I was drunk when I posted this comment. But all I could think about was that Mission Impossible song, and you did that kick." And I was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I was thinking. That's it. That's exactly what I was thinking. And then all I could think about was how, like, I took the time to say, hey man, can you clarify, like, what you're saying? Like, I know it's a little aggressive, but can you clarify? And as soon as he clarified, he apologized. He clarified, he corrected himself, he apologized again, and like everybody else is just like, you're an asshole. And I'm like, can we take some time to take some time? Can we? Can we just make peace within our own emotions so we can walk in love and communicate with this man and figure out what he was saying? And turns out, him and I were saying the same thing. Communication. It's key to all things. Even interacting with people who leave drunk comments under your posts on the internet. They also have things to say. So that's going to be it for this episode of Monday Coffee with the Doll. Like I said, I probably won't do another one of these until the end of the month or the beginning of next month. So my challenge for you guys is to go out into the world and be responsive in your own lives, be in control. Stand up for yourselves and speak your truth and be strong in your voice, but be in control of yourself, be in control of your emotions. Don't go walking up on stage smacking me. I'm sorry. Respond. Do not react. Respond. Do not react. Keep in control. But also, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching this show. If you guys want to reach out or contact Monday Coffee with the Doll and have me respond or give any advice or a thought on a situation that's going on in your life, you can always reach out to me and contact the show. There's a lot of information below. Make sure that you check out all of my social media feeds. I'm constantly posting fun stuff, whether it be classy, crazy makeup looks or just really ridiculous videos of me play with my ass. You'll have to go to my TikTok to see what I'm talking about if you don't know what I mean. My donkey show is amazing! But I absolutely adore and love your faces, and I am cheering for you guys. Remember, knowledge is power, and sharing is caring. So by me openly sharing the situation in my life and maybe some knowledge that I can pick up along the way and sharing it with you is because I care about your happiness and your well-being. So I also care about the coffee you drink. So make sure it's only the best. And don't sleep on it. Unless it's sleeping dog coffee beans. It'll kick you right in the beans. Ding! And also remember, most importantly, that these are the days that fill your week. Make them as amazing as you are. I will see you next time. Bye!